to go.
Hey guys, this is Mikey Germain with the Auto Trader Yoshimura Factory Suzuki Racing Team, mechanic for number 47, Jimmy Decotis. Alright, so starting at the front of the bike, we run the Pro Taper handlebars. Jimmy likes to run the Carmichael bend, and then we cut about a 1/4 inch off of each side. So overall, it's a 1/2 inch. He does like to roll them back pretty far. Bar mounts are pretty neutral. They're a little bit taller than, say, like a stock setup, but not too much. We run the factory brake calipers, factory, the cylinders, factory as well. Rotor is oversized, 270. He doesn't like it like too aggressive. It's kind of more progressive feel. We do have other options to do it, but he likes the more progressive feel. And then the cover is a Work Suzuki carbon fiber disc guard. Dunlop tires. He kind of goes back and forth between the two specs that we have. XL rims with the Work Suzuki hubs. The brake line is a Galfer steel braided. It's made for the work setup, so it's not the same as like a stock one if you were going to buy it. Arc levers, clamps, we run the Work Suzuki clamps. It's a different offset than stock. And then we run the Showa forks and shock. RG3 helps us out with the settings. But what's pretty cool here is that we have the help from Showa as well. So we have Johnny as well helping, and Ryo. You know, more input you can get, the better settings we can find. So we run the Git data logger, which helps us just make sure all the sensors and engine temps and all that are all okay. So every time we come off the track, they'll plug in with the computers, just check to make sure all the sensors are still working. On race day, we don't really like to try and fix the problems if we can help it. For Supercross, we just run stock radiators. They are welded for strength and have some bracing put on. Yeah, he likes the steering fairly loose. Says it helps with arm pump. The nut is just a Yoshimura hard part that they make in-house. You can buy it. There on top of the tank is where they plug the computer into to read all the data. It's just a USB cable. All the engines are done in-house at JGR. 4 engine guys that split the duties. Yoshimura helps us with the development, and we kind of go back and forth off ideas, and they do everything on the dyno first, give it to the riders, get the rider feedback, because it's always different. A rider's feedback is always different compared to like a dyno. Pretty much they're all on the same engine. We might change like flywheel weights, sprocket, gearing, stuff like that. But as far as like internals, like cam, piston, all that kind of stuff, it's all the same package between all 4 guys. Mapping helps a lot. Everybody's pretty much on the same maps, but it seems like right now the package is really good, and they all like it, so they're all running the same one as. So up on the handlebar, you can see the Git map switch. There's 2 options, so have 2 different maps. Depending on how the track is, we might have one that's mellower and one that's more aggressive that they can play with. They can kind of just switch it as they're riding. And the data, like when we just want to read the data, we plug up by the tank, and if we want to change like mapping, we plug into the one down kind of by the lower of the frame right there by the shroud. The box behind the shroud there, that's another Git piece. It's called a Lambda. It's for the bung on the head pipe. Jimmy runs a 52 rear sprocket. I know Kyle Peters runs a 51. I think Hill's on a 50. Nicoletti's on a 52 as well. I think they were all on the same at one point, but now Jimmy and Kyle have been playing around with that. Like the clutch bracket on the engine mounts, they are made in-house. The chain guard bracket guard for the second injector, that's made in-house at JGR. You don't see it on Jimmy's bike, but we make our own linkages. Stuff like even like the little brackets for the data stuff, like that's all made in-house. Another thing too, like the chain guard and like the clutch bracket, like that's all stuff you can buy off the JGR website. Shifter, it's a stock shifter, but the tip is a Work Suzuki part, and they make options where it's longer. It's also a smaller tip. Jimmy runs just a standard tip. It's a little bit bigger than stock, but basically it's aluminum, so it's a little bit lighter than the stock piece, so that's kind of why they make it. And same thing with the brake pedal. Brake pedal is stock, but the tip is a titanium tip, standard height. But with his foot pegs, we also make those in-house, so they're a little bit wider than stock. And then his are plus 12 millimeters taller. Jimmy's subframe is minus 10 compared to stock. Jimmy's really short, and his inseam's pretty short too as well. So anything to get it to where he can get over the seat better. And then also the seat is also shorter too. So the seat, I think overall is like a ½ inch shorter than stock. Yeah, so you can see like on the airbox in the left side number plate, and also why the seat is cut like that. It's just to get as much air into the intake as possible. So more air usually equals more power. So those are just little things that we do just to kind of get more air into the intake. Definitely see it on the dyno, and even when we brought it to the riders, like they even said, yeah, that's pretty good. So the shock is also done by Showa and RG3. So we run a Pro Taper sprocket on the rear. He's not really too picky on like wheel position. I know there are some riders out there that they don't like to change their sprocket because it changes the position of the wheel, which changes the way the chassis feels. The axles front and rear are work Suzuki, they're steel. A lot of that stuff just kind of gives it a different feel between steel and titanium, and we've kind of come up with that. The steel is what the riders seem to like. We do have options to go with titanium. Our swing arm pivot's titanium. We have different tapers and holes and not holes and steel, and same thing like with those. Like there's so many different options when you get on the factory levels. So Jimmy's rear brake is pretty much stock as far as the master cylinder and caliper. Even the hanger is stock. We run a plastic guard over the caliper. It's a work Suzuki part. A little bit different than stock. It's kind of a little bit tighter. Stock brake line. We do have options as far as steel braided, and then we also run the little plastic Delron piece, like a brake stop basically, so it can't get ripped out if he's in a crash or anything like that. He actually, when he scrubs, he actually puts his foot underneath the brake pedal, and he's actually ripped the plunger out of the master cylinder a few times. So that's another reason we run that guard, just so he can't do that. So on the rear master cylinder, we don't have the sight glass. They just kind of weld it. I chose to grind it to make it smooth, and we've seen in the past where that sight glass will pop out and you lose all your brake fluid and you don't have a rear brake. So Henson provides us with the clutches. We run their full basket pressure plate. They make us those cool covers with our logos on there. The stator cover as well. We also run Yoshimura exhaust, pretty much standard. We run the adapter on it for the bung for our data. Show what what mapping and stuff. If we see it's on the data that it's rich, we can go in there, and that just kind of helps us fine tune it. We run the CV4 radiator hoses, and they help also with some heat shield stuff. Like we run their heat guard on the fuel line just because it's so close to the engine. So Jimmy, he likes to run a lot of grip tape on the side of the frame there. You can see some, and then on the number plate as well, an airbox. So we run Cycroplastics. Armored Graphics does our graphics for the bike, and they helped us come out with the scheme with the blue and black, and they help us out too. Like the holes that are drilled in the airbox and number plate, they have the holes in the graphics already. So every week when we're changing plastic, we already know where to drill the hole. It's really easy for us. We just, you put the graphic on, and then you know where the hole goes, and you just drill it out, and it's simple. So all the tie, and we run a lot of aluminum bolts too, like on the plastic. That's all work Suzuki stuff. It's an older bike, so we kind of already have like a good starting point each year to go off of, and it just makes our jobs easier.
To go.